Coaching changes, staff shakeups. Gus Malzahn has been busy in Orlando today.
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Thank you for making Locked On UCF your first listen of every day. Joining me, as he always does, is my guy, Andrew Glucko from The Last Word on Sports, but he's going to get the first word on this topic. Gus has decided to give up play calling. Look, drink if you've heard this before.
Oh, man. 2 years ago, same thing was said that he was planning on giving up play calling when Darren Hinshaw was brought in, and it didn't happen. So, what makes now different? And I believe him when he says he's giving up play calling now. The panic button's being hit. This is a team that's spiraling out of control. You have your second 5-game losing streak in the last 2 seasons. You're about to lose pretty much any momentum you've built going into the Big 12. And while they're like, oh, you've lost 5 games, the momentum's gone. No, you can salvage this. You lose another one, I don't think you're salvaging this. So you got to shake things up. You got to change things. Things have gotten stale, very stale, and it's not working. So he's finally swallowed the pride. He realizes, things got to get, something's got to give, and he's making some changes. And the first thing is Tim Harrison as play caller, Gus Malzahn out.
Look, in recent weeks, they have a combined 59 points. So the offense was kind of bouncing back a little bit. It's been defense that struggled, and we'll get to that in a second. But Tim Harris is going to take over play calling. Now, Gus was quoted as saying that it's going to be the rest of the season. He said he's excited for Tim, calls him a rising star, and it's going to allow him to take more of the head coaching duties, which there are more demands on a coach these days than ever before. Now, I don't know if that's a new thing. There's plenty of demands on a coach. I think you got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. In his history, Gus has gone through this before, the struggle about whether to call plays or whether not to call plays.
Yeah, and this happened shortly before the end of his time in Auburn too, where he had to give that up and things did not go as planned. But again, we've heard this 2 years ago where Gus said, I'm giving up play calling. I need to take a step back and handle other head coaching duties, because being a head coach in the college program is now being more like a CEO. This is why Chip Kelly is not a head coach anymore, because he wanted to actually coach. You want to be a real coach, you be a coordinator. Being a head coach is more being a chief executive officer. And I think Gus finally realized he can't do it all. There's just too much going on. In fact, it's only going to get worse as these things evolve with the house settlement, where likely collectors are going to come to the house, which means he and his coaching staff are be directly connected to NIL versus an arm's length away with the collectives. That's in 2026, but that's going to come really quick. So I think he realizes he's being stretched too thin. Things aren't working. Things are evolving, and it's only going to get worse. So get ahead of it a little bit and give Tim Harris a shot. Tim Harris, very talented coach, was here at UCF a little bit before, went down south, and now he's back. And I think this is a great move for his career. I think the sky's the limit for Harris. He's well-liked. He's talented. And I think this is a very smart move. It's an attempt to salvage the season and, try to find a new spark in this season, because this is a talented team that just
it is together. So look, at the end of the day, with Harris taking over play calling, I think it points to some other areas of this team that he said need attention. So there may be I don't want to call them culture issues, but like things that definitely contribute to what is a 5-game losing streak right now. Now, we noted on a previous podcast that this is the second year straight they've had a five-game losing streak, and you've got to get it fixed. There may be some pressure happening down there in Orlando to say, look, this is not the standard that we've had set for the last few years. You're talking about a team that is less than 10 years removed from an undefeated season. So it's going to be interesting, I think, to see where this goes. Now, again, we're going to get into later, but whoever is the play caller, you've got to continue to feed RJ Harvey. Right now, I think, is he the second leading rusher in the country? He's top 5, I believe.
Oh, well, he's not quite second leading. He at one point was near that. He dropped off when he had those few duds.
He's third.
Yeah. And he's climbing back up because they're feeding him the rock, and he's able to break up. The real key here is not RJ Harvey, because we know what he can do.
Right.
Can the offensive line be schemed properly so that their weaknesses cannot be exploited? This is a unit that has very questionable run block stats, and if you look on Pro Football Focus, it's not good. It's their Achilles heel. They don't have the explosive strength. In the case of the right side of the line, they get stood up a lot. Paul Rubault, the right tackle, is 6'10". So it's hard to get a low center of gravity when you're that tall, and it affects the running game. So if you actually watch, there's more up the middle and to the left side because that's the stronger side. So they need to figure something out as far as being able to, adjust a little bit so that those weaknesses don't continue to get exploited. Because, Colorado, Florida, Cincinnati, they all stack the box badly, and UCF's offensive line floundered. But against BYU and Iowa State, they did much better, and Harvey was able to break some runs, and there's no reason why he can't do it again, because he's patient and he has really good field vision, and can slow down and then speed up very seamlessly. You let a tackler miss you on that angle of pursuit because you slow down, and then you put the jets on into the second level, and you got yourself a 20-yard game without really trying. I mean, that's what he does.
Well, Andrew, look, whoever's calling plays, they may be without Kobe Hudson. He was hurt versus BYU. I don't think we got an update today on his status. But for a passing game that is struggling at times, certainly Kobe Hudson is going to be missed in this one. I think whoever schemes this up is going to have to account, for his absence.
Oh, absolutely. And Jacoby Jones has really stepped up.
He did. He had a good game.
He had an excellent job, on the field last week, really rose to the occasion, because Kobe Hudson was knocked out of the game. The first offensive play for UCF, made a catch, got hurt, end of story. Jones really took advantage of that situation. I kind of attribute that, I'm wearing a Cleveland shirt. I kind of attribute that to like Cedric Tillman doing that with Amari Cooper gone. Guy who's kind of buried a little bit on the depth chart gets that opportunity to step in, and you get to see what he's really all about and rise to the occasion. There's no reason why he can't continue to do that. Chauncey Magwood, you actually got to hear his name a little bit. The guy I want to see more of is Trent Whittemore, who's a really talented receiver, transfer from Florida. He's a UCF legacy. His father played for the Knights. I was expecting him to kind of take a little more of a lead role after Hudson got knocked up. I didn't hear him all that much.
Yeah.
That maybe he's, that's the price you pay for being the top guy at that point going forward, and you have to deal with the top corner. They got to get him involved, this coming Saturday against Arizona. They need to be able to spread the ball around. You can't have one guy do it all on the receiving side, especially when you have issues throwing the ball.
Yeah. Well, they've got to get it going. And so I'll be interested to see how Tim Harris dials it up. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Knights are headed out to Tucson.
Other way around. It's the space game. They're hosted at home. It's going to.
They're coming. They're coming. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going to say pressure's on the Knights. UCF has never lost a space game.
UCF has never lost a space game.
First time they played them, first time they played one, it was in 2017. They've played one every year since. And since 18, they've had unique helmets and uniforms that routinely are near the top or the top of Uniswag's Uniform of the Year competition. This is a big deal to fans and players. They love this stuff. In fact, in today's press conference, a friend, Brandon Helwig, UCF Sports, part of the Rivals Network, he asked about, the players and how they feel about the uniforms with the space game, and they light up. They love this stuff. They eat it up. At one point, UCF was thought to be the Oregon of the East before Scott Frost left because of that Phil Knight
Oregon
connection.
Yeah.
And it first started like that, but now UCF took the space thing in-house. They designed it themselves. There's a whole webpage that explains every aspect of the uniform design. Each thing is done for meticulously for a particular purpose. And, it tells a story. And this year it's about the moon, where it's a unique design. It starts black and then kind of speckles into white based on.
They're cool uniforms. Yeah, they're definitely cool uniforms. I saw the prototypes. They were great. Look, it's gonna be a game that if you want to right this ship, you just got to win this game. You got to win this game at any cost. Like you said, it's in their house. If they can win this one, maybe you could start a streak. You got to be 1-0 every week at this point forward. But look, offensive coordinator wasn't the only change that happened. We're going to talk about the other change right after a break in this word from our sponsors. UCF fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we pulled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change. With the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athlete you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player that you choose. The Roy app is a great way to support players in a unique NIL initiative. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download the Roy app, create an account, and enter referral code LOCKEDON, and you're entered. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. That's right. You heard me right. This gets you entered automatically. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscription and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and on X at Roy_return on you for more info. We mentioned there are more coaching changes. Gus has fired his defensive coordinator, Ted Roof. There's a history here. Ted Roof was the defensive coordinator at Auburn when Gus was the offensive coordinator in 2010, and they won the national title game. Interesting note about that Ted Roof-led defense. Andrew, that defense gave up more points than any national title winner ever in the history of college football.
How does he keep getting work?
Well, I think maybe the relationship with Gus. What do you think about this? Was this a necessary change for Gus here at this point in the season?
Well, I think so. It's funny. Some fans may not realize this is not Ted Roof's first stay at UCF. He actually was hired in 2011 after UCF just came off a conference championship. And their first bowl victory in 2010. He was hired for the 2011 after 2011, where they kind of faltered, and they hired him, and he stayed for basically a cup of coffee and never coached the 2012 season. He went to Penn State after that. So gets hired in December 2011, cup of coffee, gone within a few weeks. Now he's brought back 2024 after being cast out of Oklahoma. And well, I mean, he didn't do very well. And so this became a little bit of a head scratcher. I understand Addison Williams had his struggles his first year as a defensive coordinator last year. Williams is a defensive backs guy, so the defensive backs did really well. The linebackers struggled. So that was part of the rationale behind hiring Roof, was to give him a chance, give Williams a chance to learn because he was the future. Well, the results weren't good. UCF gave up a lot of points, and they had those essentially 2 pick sixes against Iowa State. They still give up 38 points. They gave up over 30 points in 3 of their last 4 games. They've greatly struggled. They gave up 40 to plus to Colorado. This is not how to win friends and influence people. So at this point, okay, something's got to change. We've seen that something's got to change on the offensive side, giving up the play calling and bring someone new in. Same on the defensive side. The part that hurts is the financial side. Ted Roof signed a 2-year deal. The first year was for $400,000. The second year was for $700,000. And so UCF's on the hook to pay that off. So while fans are saying, oh, fire Gus. Well, guess what? There's now what a lot of fans don't realize is when you fire the head coach, you pay the buyout there. But if you have a multi-year assistant, you got to pay that out too.
Yeah.
In the case of Roof, it was a 2-year deal. They're going to have to pay basically between $750,000, $800,000, whatever the prorated amount left is on that deal. That's money that's gone. Plus, as I mentioned before, you got the whole thing with the House settlement with NCAA. That's going to open the door for that internal basically paying of players up to I think $20 or $22 million. Well, UCF's going to have to start saving money there too. So there's no money to make a head coaching change yet. But Gus knows things are starting to get a little hot, and the season's not over. They went out 3 out of 4. They're in a bowl game, and let's you look at the remaining schedule. 3 wins is possible. I don't think they'll beat Arizona State, away, but you can win Arizona at home. You can win West Virginia on the road and Utah at home. So, it's actually kind of a soft, backloaded schedule. As it turned out, Arizona's been a massive disappointment this year. So they're trying to make these changes ahead of this. It's a space game, a lot of pressure. And if they can get a win in that particular situation, I think you can also help a little bit of the fan apathy that we saw this last week. 30 to 40% of the fan turnout was in blue. BYU had an amazingly high turnout at the game against UCF, which is not expected, or not unexpected. The LDS Church has a huge amount of land that they own, and the Mormon population is very large in the state of Florida. So, it's expected you're going to have a large fan base. You're going to have a lot of travel. So the fact that BYU showed up didn't surprise me at all with all that fan apathy. Between this and the offensive change is just to try to light a little bit of fire underneath the fans and get them going to this weekend's game. If they can get a win, you start building a little bit of momentum back.
UCF ranks 11th out of 16 teams in total defense. They're giving up 379 yards a game here in the Big 12. And, that's just not going to get it done. So at the ends of games, you can't, at key moments during the game, I don't remember against BYU. You and I haven't got a chance to review the game on camera yet, but they had a third down where if they stopped them, they had a chance to get the ball back and make it a 1-score game. And they gave up a big run to Retzlaff right up the middle.
More than once.
Yeah. And he got a first down, and it was then that I knew the game was over. I was like, if you're going to let him do that, you're just not going to be able to win this game.
If you remember, that was one of the keys of the game for me was third down defense.
Defense, yeah.
And they failed to deliver. In fact, when they were successful on third down, they failed on fourth down. The fake field goal that BYU ran has made national media all over the place for just being
so embarrassing.
An absolutely beautifully tragic play for UCF. It was so well executed. The behind the legs.
Give them credit for sure.
It was a double snap. It was kind of cool, but UCF was completely caught off guard. The kicker ran it for a first down, led to points on the board and a much easier opportunity. You can't do that. If UCF wants any chance, they got to tighten up on third down. This is time and time again, missed assignments, bad pursuit angles. The tackling was atrocious. Stop going for the hit stick, wrap the guy, hold on for dear life. Just even if he gets 5 extra yards, you just hold on to him and let someone come bail you out.
That's Ted Roof defenses, though. That's Ted Roof defenses. They struggle with times at tackling. And look, I like the change here. I like the change of being able to get in here, maybe spark some life, maybe get back to the basics, reteach fundamentals and refocus on defense. If you're going to end this season strong, you're going to have to improve on defense, because right now your offense is struggling. And you don't, we're going to get into it in the next segment, but without a passing game, without a quarterback that can be a threat through the air, you got to be able to stop people at the end of the games, which is where we're going to go next. We're going to talk about where UCF goes at quarterback right after a quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Andrew, what's the spread this weekend?
Last time I checked, it was UCF by 6, and I have obviously last week was weird. BYU completely dogged on the betting line. It's it started at 5 and then it became 6. Now it's even more. With UCF not even naming a starter at quarterback, it's like I can't take this line seriously.
Yeah.
I really can't.
How do you know if you don't know who the quarterback is? But hey, listen, if you want to take some risks without knowing who the quarterback is, go check out our friends at FanDuel. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Dylan Risk. I love this last name. So many puns.
I mean, the name just sells it. Especially you go from talking about betting lines and taking a risk. Yeah. And now we talk about Dylan Risk, and he was a nice shot in the arm. The fans got really excited. The ones who stayed for the end of the game. I mean, by this point, I'm downstairs waiting to go in the media room for Gus's post game.
For 100 yards and just a few and 10 throws.
Yeah, 60 over 60%, 100 yards and a touchdown. Looked very solid. But think of it this way: you brought in a relief pitcher, which is essentially he wasn't game planned for. As a result, BYU didn't really know what to do with him. They didn't know what to expect out of him. Dylan, a much more traditional pocket passer, with Gus giving up the play calling. This may be the opportunity to switch away from the running quarterback to the throwing quarterback. But
Risk is not a statue back there either. He can move a little bit. I think when it comes to now, you're down to your 4th string quarterback here. Like, wow, when did we imagine that UCF would be here at the beginning of the season? However, people are like, well, look who he did it against. It was a 2nd string defense. I hate that. I don't think that's a reason not to maybe give this kid a chance the way your season is going, because you get your shot when you get your shot. And if he had gone in there and crapped the bed, they'd be using that as an excuse to say, well, see, he can't do it. He couldn't even do it against the 2nd string defense. So you cannot both use that to discredit him. You understand what I'm saying? Like, give him credit. He had to go in there and he had to play against who he had to play against. And I think that he earned at least the look this week. Now, in the press conference today, they didn't commit to quarterback.
Mm-mm. Yeah, not at all. They're still evaluating, which means the door is open for Risk. If you're Dylan Risk, that's the news you want to hear, because that means you've got a week to prove yourself. You've got all week in practice. They don't really want to play E.J. Colson all that much. They want to preserve the red shirt. You've always only played 1 game so far. They're kind of shying away from using him. Obviously, we all know the story about Jefferson, and Jacurri Brown has he had a good game against Cincinnati, and everything else has been just an absolute mess. I know he can tuck and run until BYU takes it away, which they did a great job. I mean, Gus at his post game mentioned as such that BYU took away the quarterback run, which is what really neutered Jacurri Brown's offensive power. His passing game, not there. In fact, it's getting worse. His PFF grades are just declining. In fact, KJ Jefferson has better grades than he does. Brown's down to 50% completions. Another sub 50. This past weekend.
It was sad to see him throw picks at the end of that game, and
what a wreck.
It was a train wreck with his arm.
And UCF's pass blocking is not bad. Because obviously run blocking on the offensive line is based on strength and explosiveness. Pass blocking is more of a question of agility. It's actually worked out pretty well for them. So having a more traditional passer like Risk may not be a terrible decision. He's a redshirt freshman. The redshirt's already been used. There's no risk of using him.
Yeah.
Pun fully intended at that point. The season's on the verge of collapse. What do you have to lose?
Yeah, I think as long as he has a good week of practice and demonstrates a good understanding of what Tim Harris is going to want to do, he should be in the mix this week. Understanding concepts, man, and being able to go out there and execute has a lot to do. It's hard to just throw a quarterback out there who maybe has been getting fourth string snaps all year. And maybe not as much chemistry with the first team because who he's been running with. But you use this week maybe to evaluate whether there's something there with Risk that you can take a chance with him here in the space game this Saturday.
Yeah, and with Kobe Hudson going down, Jacoby Jones coming up, that's a player that he's worked with, and you've seen the results. Those two, looked really good together. On the short time they were on the field together, they look good.
Yeah.
If you can extend that to a Randy Pittman, maybe a Trent Whittemore, and really start to open up that pass game, if you can get teams to respect the pass, that's going to open things up for RJ Harvey. Harvey is too talented to be bottled up. He really is one of the best running backs in college football. I had him in my top 3 in the Big 12. Being up there with Ollie Gordon is a huge compliment because we know what kind of running back Gordon is. And he's having similar problems that Harvey is. Playing on a team that's vastly underachieving, where he's not allowed to showcase his talents because of the problems they're having of stacking the box and preventing for breaking it open. Harvey's having the same problem. So if UCF can put someone like a Dylan Risk out there to make defenses respect the pass, and if they don't respect the pass, he'll make you pay.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have to do something on Saturday. I think there's some intrigue around this. So we're going to follow this closely throughout the week. Again, coaching
controversy
happening down in Orlando. Gus has given up play calling. He's fired his DC. And now he may have a quarterback change. Lots of things happening there. We're going to be with you every step of the way this week in the lead up to the game. Andrew, before we get out of here, tell people where they can find you.
Well, you can catch me at Statboy Drew on Twitter /X, whatever you feel like calling it. And you can catch my writings on Last Word on College Football, which is part of the Last Word on Sports family.
Guys, thank you for making Locked On UCF your first listen today. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Big 12 podcast. Drake Toll leads the conversation in conference realignment, news, and holds no punches when it comes to covering every team in the Big 12. Find Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with more Locked On UCF.